Okay, I've been a little lax in my getting to this review. It's been out for a while. It's one of those deals where it was multiple discs, and a lot of times I'm just trying to get the one discers done, and sometimes things have to wait. But it was worth the wait for me. This is GIALLO Essentials Black Edition. I have this here, and I'm looking at my notes because this is the fourth time I've started this review, and I keep calling it Black Collection. GIALLO Essentials Black Edition. This is a set of four. To me, unknown GIALLO releases from Arrow Home Video. If you don't know GIALLO, it is the Italian word for yellow. It refers to a style of paperback murder mystery thrillers that were released in Italy for a time, and the films that were released that were of the same genre are called GIALLO. So Italian murder horror thrillers, very stylish. Tended to be early to mid-'70s for the most part, but some were made earlier than that and some were made later than that. I mean, I believe Blood and Black Lace is referred to as one of the earliest, and that was '60s. And I think you have people still doing giallo type stuff into the '80s. And once in a while, somebody does one now. So it's four films. So if you see any fades in this, it's going to be me looking at my notes that are just over there because it's been a while since I've watched some of these, but I just finished it up tonight and last night, and had a really good time. So the first movie is entitled Smile Before Death from 1972. It stars Rosalba Neri as a woman who is a fashion photographer, and a friend of hers gets murdered, and the murderee's teenage daughter comes back from being away, and it's Neri trying to help figure out who did the murder and protect the daughter and console her and all of that. This film is very saucy. This has got a lot of skin in it, extremely stylish, as giallos tended to be. Great score. The transfer in this is gorgeous. The colors are so just vibrant. The reds in this are phenomenal. And if you remember the days of the old videotape days, reds always fared very poorly on tape. Just something about the reproduction of it. They would turn really smeary and there'd be banding and it just looked terrible. Much better on DVD and Blu-ray and on HD. They just look so good. So the film was a lot of fun. I say fun, a movie about people being killed, but it's the stylishness and the way it moves along and the twists and the turns and the sauciness of it. I really quite enjoyed this one. And the plot is very interesting. It's very intricate. It's very twisty and turny in terms of the relationships with each other, the intricacies of the relationships with various people on the path, on the road to figuring out who committed this murder. The extras include a commentary by Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson, which is very good and interesting and fills you in on all the details about everybody who's in the film and film's production and release. You have an interview with the son of the director. You have extended nude scenes. There's even more nudity that you didn't see in this movie. And in the movie, there's a lot. And an image gallery. Next, this is one film per disc. So I may get the order of the discs wrong. That was disc one, I can tell you. That was disc one. Disc two is The Weapon, The Hour, and The Motive. This is, this one was interesting. 1972, and you have, the alternate title for this film, I learned in the Kat Ellinger commentary, was Who Killed the Horny Priest? That's as good a title as any for this. Basically, this film, it revolves around is it a convent? Is it a seminary? Is it a rectory? I'm not up on my terminology for where the people in the robes live. But basically, you've got this priest, this very attractive young priest, who's getting it on with multiple women in the town. He's getting it on with a married woman. He's getting it on with a friend of hers who's a fortune teller psychic, and maybe many more. And he gets murdered. And a little boy who's sort of like under the care of the nuns that live in this religious building. The little boy likes to go up in the attic and play in the attic, and he's got a hole carved in the floor that lets him see down into, I'm going to call it the rectory, a place where the people are praying sometimes. And he sort of witnesses the murder. And we, the audience, see that, but nobody else in the movie knows that. Or I guess the murderer does know that, because right after the murder happens, this kid was playing marbles, and one of the marbles rolls down and hits the floor down below, rolls through the hole. So the murderer knows he did it. And the rest of the film is a couple of cops, one really serious and one kind of bumbling, trying to investigate who killed the priest. There are nuns in the film. There are none nude scenes, but what I said when I watched the movie was they took a photo. There was a shot, close-up shot of this extremely attractive young nun, and I say, if it's a '70s Euro film and a nun looks like that, there's some saucy business coming down the pike. And there really isn't overtly. The most saucy stuff is with you witness with the priest. There's a scene or two with him, but there is a scene where all the nuns are showering, but they're showering like in a habit, so to speak, thin habit. So it's sort of see-through. I'm not being a perv. It's sort of see-through, and it's done really casually. And there's this old guy who's like the caretaker there, who just kind of casually walks in and is like, you expected he was going to be ogling them, and he's just like, you never clean up anything, and he walks back out again, which I thought was an interesting flip of the usual lascivious nunsploitation type movie. So it's a giallo of sorts. It's really more of a murder mystery. I have a hard time calling it a giallo based on how a lot of the giallos feel. And at one point I was saying, well, it can't be a giallo. There's no J&B bottle in that, which is something that happens in every giallo movie, has a conspicuous placement of a J&B bottle. And then about 3/4 of the way through the movie, the J&B bottle shows up. I'm like, okay, I guess this is a giallo film after all. I quite enjoyed this. The kid was really funny. The kid was weird. Apparently he only made like 3 movies, but the kid was odd and really into crime novels and really like sassy and demanding. And I quite enjoyed it. The cast of characters is this woman who was having an affair with the priest, who then they broke it off. The affair, not his, yeah, and her husband and a couple people who live around this place. So it's very limited number of settings in this film, but very cool, very good. I enjoyed this, and it's a movie I'd never, like everything in this set, I'd never heard of this before. Extras. There's a commentary by Australian writer Alexandra Heller-Nicholas that's very informative, very analytical, a little bit dry for me, and there were some sizable gaps where there wasn't any commenting. She wasn't talking. So there were stretches where I was like, I wanted to kind of fast forward to get to the next part where she was talking, because watching it that way, at least by default, it didn't have subtitles, and I had just watched the movie, so I didn't really need to like watch the movie. I actually usually don't watch the movie when I listen to a commentary. I usually play a game on my phone or do something that keeps my eyes and hands busy. I feel like I'm wasting a viewing of a film if I'm sitting there watching it again with the commentary right after I've seen it. It means like it'll be even longer before I want to watch it again. So at any rate, when there are large gaps, you kind of feel like you want to fast forward or something, but then you wind up missing some of the commentary. So I didn't love the commentary, but she's usually quite good, and the information she did present was good. It just wasn't like as much fun or, I don't know, engaging to me as some other commentaries have been. You get an interview with the actor who played like the bumbling cop in the film, and that was like a good 13 minutes or so. You get English opening and closing credits. So this was interesting. It opens up with the crawl saying that, or a subtitle on the menu, that Arrow tried to find the English language version of this film, but all they could find were the opening and the closing. So you get perfect transfer in audio too of the opening of the film, where a little bit of stuff plays out under the titles. So the titles are in English, and you get to hear what the English dub was like. And then you get the same at the end. So you get a little bit of dialogue at the end and the end English title. So that was just kind of interesting to see for comparison purposes, and to see, what the dubbing was like, what voices they used, because they often tended to use the same voices for a lot of Italian films, a lot of exported films to the English territories. So you hear certain voices and you're like, oh, that was that woman in Suspiria. Oh, that was that guy in Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It's fun to find your favorite recognizable voices, as it were. And then there is an image gallery with 12 photos. So I misspoke earlier. There's only 3 films in this set. It's been so long since I watched them, I forgot. I'm looking at my notes here. There's only 3 movies. So we're on the last one now. This was The Killer Reserved 9 Seats. I just watched this last night, so this one I can speak with a pretty fresh head on. So Killer Reserved 9 Seats is about, it opens up I realized after the fact, the opening of this film under the titles plays just like the opening of William Castle's House on Haunted Hill, where it's nighttime, a long line of cars are in procession to some unknown location at night, in the dark, in the dark. And it's all groups of people who apparently know each other, but they don't know where they're going. And they get to this location, and this guy who was apparently had been hosting a party, somebody suggested that they all go to his theater. He owns this, and it's a real theater, or it was at the time, a medieval theater that has been closed for like 100 years or something, but everything is still there inside it. And he basically goes there to give them a tour. But not long after they go in there, you see all the doors sort of lock by themselves or lock from the outside, and then somebody starts killing people, as you do in a 100-year-old abandoned medieval theater. So the interior of the theater is gorgeous. It's amazing looking inside, and it looks really good. Like, it's well lit. It doesn't look like it's been abandoned for the 100 years that it allegedly has been here. And one by one, this masked killer, this killer who wears like a cape and black gloves, this is a giallo film, and a mask, but the mask looks weird. The mask looks like a Jerry Anderson character. Like, the mask looked like you made a mask out of one of the characters from one of the Thunderbirds episodes, and he's the killer. It's like this big kind of very cartoony facial features, but like really big curly hair and huge eyebrows, and it's just weird. It makes it even weirder and creepier. And so it is a who will survive and what will be left of them. Who is the killer? They've all been locked inside, so it's got to be one of them, right? What is their motivation? Who will be next? Who will survive? As I say, they find this old tapestry or something that shows all of these people dying in different ways, and they realize that people are being killed in that order, in those ways, and they try to outfox the killer. They try to figure out ahead of time who it's going to be. This was pretty cool. The setting was amazing. The setting did a lot of the movie's work for it. The performances are fine. I mean, it's an Italian giallo film, and it's this was in Italian, but you do have an English dub option for this. And it looked gorgeous. It looks so good. These arrow transfers look so good. At times, the movie does not betray its age at all. What betrays the age of the film is the fashion and the clothing and things like that. Great score, and some surprisingly brutal killings at times, some surprisingly gruesome moments, and some very saucy moments. There's a moment where, seemingly unprovoked, a woman just does a nude dance for like 3 minutes. Not saying I was complaining. I'm just telling you. If you get to the part of the movie where the woman does the nude dance and you need to run out real quick, you don't want to see the nude dance. You need to run out real quick and grab something from the fridge. You don't need to pause it because she's going to keep doing that nude dance. And there's lesbianism in the film, and as is pointed out in the extras, very interestingly, it's not portrayed as perverse, which these movies could do at times in this era. It's not portrayed overtly salaciously. It's just like, yeah, these two women are together. That's how it is, which is refreshing to see an older film like that, and kind of surprising. And just like, it is what it is, just another couple. And so as the film goes on, you learn of all the relationships between these people. That going in, they all know each other. But as you go on, there's a lot of twisty, turny, complicated secrets and backstabbings and who's going to do what to whom and for what reason that helps add fuel to the fire with your theory of who might be the killer. So as I said, in the extras here on this disc, we have a commentary by Kat Ellinger. She is always great. If you see her name attached to anything that's an extra, it is well worth your time. She's got a good sense of humor about stuff, and she'll talk about, again, the history of all of the characters, or the history of all of the actors, the film, the themes in the film, compares it to other historical depictions of the same thing in other films, other things in the genre. She knows her Italian film. She knows her giallo. It's like hanging out with a really smart friend when you listen to one of her commentaries. Always a big fan. Then you have I'm going to look over at my notes. Despite having watched this last night, the mind is mush at this point. You have an interview with Howard Ross, who is one of the actors who played one of the characters in the film. That's relatively short. The two extras on this are, they're not shorter than the usual arrow length, but they were produced in 2013 for another release of the film. So, which is always interesting to see, because when they use archival extras and they use scenes of the film to illustrate what's being talked about, it'll be a clip that is of lesser video quality. So you get to see what it looked like before. You get to see how much better the Arrow release looks. So there's a couple clips in there. But the Howard Ross little interview is fun. He's in a park outside, and he's a very good-natured guy, and he keeps saying, "Oh, bellissima, bellissima. The film was beautiful. She was beautiful." He makes some comments about the physical attributes of one of the actresses, which could be deemed as inappropriate, but I found kind of funny because it was complimentary. And you have an interview with the screenwriter. That's longer. That's 28 minutes. That was really interesting. Another guy who has a really great attitude about his work and this film. He talks about working with Mario Bava, or almost working with Mario Bava. He talks about this film, the other films he made, how the film came out, he was surprised to find that the film was a big commercial hit, despite they who produced the film making almost no money on it. Funny how that accounting still works to this day, from what I'm told. And then you have English language trailer. Sorry, you have the trailer for the film, which can be viewed with its English dub or with the original Italian with subtitles. It's really basically the Italian trailer. And you have an image gallery of about 25 images. So, sorry I keep looking off to the side, but it's one of these set discs with the multiple films. I have to keep kind of reminding myself exactly what was on there. Really, really fun set. They've done a couple of these Giallo collections at Arrow. Some of the other ones are films that they had previously released as individual releases that they just packaged together. But this Black Edition, yes, the Giallo Essentials Black Edition is one that, these are all new to Arrow Video, new to Blu-ray, I believe. All films I'd never heard of, and all films that I really enjoyed. I love that Arrow keeps being able to dig up. It really shows you how many films came out in these genres too that they delve into, whether it's spaghetti westerns or giallo or Japanese action or Japanese yakuza. These genres ran really deep, and we here in the U.S. really only ever saw a few of these in the scheme of things. The ones that were deemed commercial enough to dub and put into release, the films that were released while the genre was still flourishing here. Sometimes genres kind of spiked here and went away, whereas overseas where these films were being made, they just went on and on and on. So I love being able to see it as a film historian, as a film fan, as a fan of the era and the area and the style of these films. To get new ones is just like thrilling. I mean, despite somebody's occasionally trying to do a new one that emulates the style, they're not making new 70s giallos anymore. There's a finite number, but that number is apparently huge. So I thank these companies who put them out. So available now, has been for a while, on Blu-ray from Arrow Home Video. I'm gonna have to look at it again. It's putting a twist in my brain. It is Giallo Essentials Black Edition.